You were listening to 4 Point Stance on about half of the internet. Twitter, iHeartRadio, Yelpa, YouTube, Anchor, to name a few. And if you want an actual full link to all of the places that you can get to 4 Point Stance, please contact me on Twitter. The number 4_PT_stance or W34VI1, and I can actually get you the full links to all of the locations that I'm at. Like I said before, I've said in past episodes, there's 16 different locations that I know of that this show can be found. Who knows where else I am? But yeah, to be honest, kind of tired of reading that novel every week. As a reminder, the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline available 24/7. They're there to help. 1-800-273-8255. And the Trans Lifeline, also available 24/7. The U.S. number is 877-565-8860. And the Canadian number is 877-330-6366. So, obviously, I decided to take a week off because content was kind of limited. It's kind of the same for this week, but I figured I might as well get something out. That way, at least you didn't think I went on hiatus again. But we've kind of hit the quiet time of the silly season, which, trust me, after what we've all dealt with, this is quite nice. Suspicious, but nice. But we did have some stuff show up in these last 2 weeks. First off, the WTFL announced 2 more teams to their group. The Baltimore Burn have come out of hiding. It's been a few years since we've seen and heard of that team. They're back. They're going to be in the WTFL. And then the New Orleans Queen Cobras are also going to be coming into the 2020 season for the WTFL. Yes, that does put 3 teams in New Orleans, but they are, so far from what I have been told, they are holding quite well with their numbers, and it does seem very plausible. It'll be interesting with Baltimore Burn in, how the Nighthawks are going to handle that, but, more power to all of them on making that happen. And then one of the most interesting pieces that I saw in these last couple weeks was the Wisconsin Dragons technically are no more because they decided to rebrand and kind of reshape their market. We now have the Midwest Mountain Lions, and that kind of is covering the Chicago area where the Force used to be, a little bit of where the Wisconsin Warriors used to be, and where the Madison Blaze used to be. On top of where Wisconsin Dragons were at the time. So, this is kind of, I guess you could say, like a super group, because this is kind of combining all the areas, and kind of bringing back an old familiar face. If you remember, Madison, before they became the Blaze, there was the Madison Cougars, and that's what this reminds me of, especially if this is in the same area. But the color scheme is that of the Wisconsin Dragons. So this is a very interesting conglomerate, but it does bring a team still within the area, and it also kind of takes a hit at that forgotten Chicago market that the Force kind of let die out for whatever reason. So it'll be very interesting going forward to see how that plays out. I noticed on the social media wires there was the Hall of Fame people announced. I'll kind of keep my opinion to myself on that one. There's a lot of thoughts I have on it, not because I'm being salty, but it's just there's a lot of thoughts on it. I'm still wondering, when is this Women's Hall of Fame going to actually be tied to Canton? That's kind of my whole thing, and I wish somebody would tell me if it is even tied to Canton. Instead, it's just a lot of suspicious things on my end, just from looking on the outside. But that, again, is my problem. I might go into it in the Real Brew. I don't know. Depends on how I feel. I kind of got other fish to fry in the Real Brew here. Not related to women's tackle football, oddly enough, but, it's still one of those things that, whatever. It's just, whatever. Personally, I know it's something I'll never make, because I'm too honest. Too brutally honest. I've already pissed off one league, what's pissing off another. Honesty does that. But, yeah. And then finally, I did notice that the WNFC kind of further announced their little network through a group that is mostly online. To be honest, I've been in the media industry a little while. This is the first time I've ever heard of the group, but, U2, not as in the band, not Bono, but, all written out, so it's kind of like written out like YouTube, but you have to pay $20 to get access, and I find that really interesting, because if that's going back to the teams individually, that's one thing, but if that's going to the overall league, that brings up a whole nother conversation that I really don't want to waste this show on. Right now, at least. Yeah, so that's kind of, for the most part, what we got coming down. Women's tackle football news. Decided I wanted to do something a little different for rules of the game. Really, there's been a couple things that have stood out. Like, I was going to potentially do something about what really classified as a blindside block. If any of you saw the Seattle-Cleveland game from 2 weeks ago, you would know exactly what I'm talking about. When they called Landry on a blindside block, even though it was a legal block. Whatever. Wouldn't be a week without NFL controversy. College football's been oddly quiet, in my opinion, which I find very suspicious of the Pac-12 and of the Big Ten, but whatever. But there was an element from 2 weeks ago, because this week was kind of minimal, but from 2 weeks ago, a very interesting play call that was made that we haven't seen in a long time. And it's not all that common in college. Really is not common at all in high school. Especially nowadays. But to see the NFL have the fair catch kick is kind of an unusual thing. And I thought it was best to have the former head of officiating, Dean Blandino, actually explain it, literally what he did for his show and for FoxSports.com. I thought it was best to have the words coming directly from his mouth on what the fair catch kick really means.
So we had to go all the way to London, England today to see something we hadn't seen in the NFL in a long time, a fair catch kick. The Panthers' Joey Sly attempted a 60-yarder at the end of the first half. So basically, anytime a team completes a fair catch, you can elect to take a fair catch kick. You line up from the spot of where the fair catch was made. It's just like a kickoff from a formation perspective. The kickers are all on their line. The defense is 10 yards from where the kickers are. If the kick is good, it's 3 points. The clock starts once the ball is kicked, and the defense can actually return it for a touchdown, just like a missed field goal. The last time we had a fair catch kick in the NFL, 2013, Phil Dawson missed one. 49ers at the St. Louis Rams. The last successful fair catch kick was Ray Wersching in 1976. And the very first fair catch kick on record, 1921, Curly Lambeau.
Watch Mike Pereira and Dean Blandino on Last Call every Monday afternoon.
As I said before, you can actually find that video on foxsports.com. Mike Pereira, who is also a former head of officiating and also former NFL ref, and Dean Blandino have their own show. And I'll tell you right now that usually when rules are kind of iffy, I try to see what those two are saying because they know what they're talking about. They are actually really good at their job. And how it really does connect to women's tackle football was during the inaugural NFL Women's Career Forum, Dean Blandino, right before he left the NFL, actually came and talked to us. And he was pushing really hard to get more women involved on the officiating side, on the replay side, and all that. But he was brutally honest about it. He said that the NFL was several years behind, and he was right. Look how long it took. You know, that was 2016 when I recall, January 2016, when I recalled seeing Dean Blandino in person and meeting him and, talking with him. And you look at now, where it's October 2019, still a long way to go. So, for a lot of you, I know I do push this a lot in the fact that we need more women talking, but unfortunately we do have to rely a little bit on the male experts to get there, because some of us do have to take our stepping stones and go up from there. So don't be surprised that you don't see in the future some more stuff from Mike Pereira and Dean Blandino, especially if I feel like they can explain it a little better than I can. Obviously, that's just, one of the things that it comes down to. I don't plan on doing stuff like this all that often. I do have another plan for the rules of the game coming up in the future. It's actually a request of several people around the league, but y'all have to figure out, you'll have to wait until I get to that point.
Viewer discretion is advised.
Now, obviously, some of you are probably thinking, wow, this is a really short episode for somebody who's been off for 2 weeks, and you're right. It really is. But, and mellow, too, compared. But, as I said in the opener, it is kind of the calm time of the silly season, even though there's a lot of stuff brewing underneath. A lot of stuff that maybe some groups may not realize it's brewing, just in the fact of there's always a storm coming at some point in this sport, I swear. As I was telling one of my listeners not long ago, it seems like when I make my predictions, something happens, and I had one where I don't know if it's anytime soon or if it's going to be at the end of the season, but definitely at the end of this 2020 season, we're going to see another mass exodus. And it's not going to be in the way that certain leagues like. And I know okay, some people are going to say, well, that's being pessimistic. No, that's called a decade in this sport and seeing how everybody wants to go for the next shiny thing, but they don't want to put the effort in. And where I see everyone going will actually force them to put in the effort, but it might actually work out in their favor. So, anyway, just looking in the future of that, so we can put a timestamp on when I do this, because it seems like every other time everybody, oh, who knew that this was coming? Yeah, anyway. We do have that coming down. Now, as I said, obviously Real Brew, I was gonna get into something that wasn't women's tackle football related, which is kind of a shocker, but then it kind of is. There is concern for many of the Texas teams that are along, from Dallas all the way up, kind of towards Arkansas and everything. The pretty nasty tornado that hit. Let's see, according to this article, it was a, EF3 or something like that. It was not small. But the reason why I'm bringing this up was because a TV news station in Dallas delayed the tornado warning by 6 minutes because they did not want to interrupt the game of the Cowboys taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. And they were very lucky that nobody directly in this, well, that we know of, even though I have heard from my side of things from work, there was one fatality, but I don't know if it was in Texas or in Arkansas. But they were really, really lucky here to have waited. And to be honest, you're going to hear this from me as somebody who does take football kind of, as a way of life. There are sometimes you got to put football aside. And when a tornado's going to hit or another natural disaster, fuck football. You got to take care of your own safety. And I wish that, granted, I get rivalry games. Trust me, I get it. As somebody who lives and has had to do many times of, the sixth oldest rivalry in college, I get it. But I'll tell you right now, if a natural disaster was coming for us, we would all say, forget Civil War, we're just gonna, wait until that passes, then we'll come beat the hell out of each other. But this is definitely one of those things that it kind of needs to be taken serious from now on. That's all fine and dandy that they're saying, we've dealt with this before, safety's our priority. Well, you should have thought about that before you delayed 6 minutes. Those 6 minutes could have helped some other people, I get you may have been interjecting during commercial breaks to give little, news flashes and stuff like that, but to delay something as important as a National Weather Service alarm, which is actually a federal requirement, I don't see this news station not coming out without a fine, because that's the kind of thing. John Oliver had a great piece about weather in his last episode about how AccuWeather would only, would sell people stuff, where the the NOAA, NOAA, and all them were, open to the public. It was in the public's best interest to make it free. And I just think that it's one of those things that a lot of these stations have to take a time and think. There is more to this world. And I know this is weird coming from me. There is more to life than football. The sport theater is not so thick that you have to risk public safety for the sake of a rivalry game. Look at all of the women's tackle football games that have been delayed, canceled, postponed. Hell, I even know of one game that had to be played at a different date. Literally starting from where they, left off. We take it serious. My understanding is this game was in Philly, thankfully. But I may be wrong, but I'll tell you right now, it's still one of those things that's all fine and dandy that you're streaming the live weather coverage on on the website, but I'm gonna tell you right now, as somebody who watches the news and has to read emails from people, I'm sorry, let's be honest, I work for a news station, and as somebody who has to edit the video and then out to the side has to hear the emails from viewers that don't watch the program complain about stuff we're not covering, or we are covering and they just didn't see it because they're looking somewhere else. You kind of gotta go to where your people are. If everybody's watching the game, you can take the hate mail about interrupting the game for a public safety thing. That's the kind of hate mail you want. You don't want to have to do something like this, delay it, and then all of a sudden have to, the next day put up obituaries. That's not something that is fun for anyone in this industry. And obviously, a lapse of judgment all the way around, that came from those in charge. Maybe not like the corporate, but definitely for those that are, have the control of that. And in the future, take the flack for interrupting a stupid football game. I'm sorry, but football is an entertainment. End of story. The NFL has defined itself as an entertainment. But if it's at the risk of somebody's life, is it really worth it? And you were talking to somebody who literally lives and breathes football here. Obviously. But even I have my limits. Seriously, you think about all the rules that we have in place for lightning, where games are delayed. Think back when the NFL had the really bad blizzard in Buffalo. The game had to be rescheduled. It's had to be rescheduled and put in Ford Field. Public safety was the main concern. And did people get upset? Yeah, they did. Of course they did. Hell, NFL Network got upset, and they're the ones that pretty much were pushing to do this. Because it got put on a weird day. Oh my god. Oh my god, it got put on a Tuesday. We all got over it. We had to work, whatever. It was money. But nobody got hurt because of it. They kept an eye on it. They had to cancel it kind of at the last minute. Had to reschedule. They had to do a bunch of other stuff. That's what they're meant to do. They have to take public safety, and I kind of think that if the news stations are going to keep doing this, pretty soon these games aren't going to be televised the way you need. This is a courtesy because it doesn't really get them much money in the sense of people just sitting there watching. The Nielsen ratings actually don't mean jack shit anymore, because of the old setup that it has. But they also know that if people are not safe, they're not going to be good. What's the point of fans if they're gone? What's the point of fans if they're dead? And I just think that a lot of places, news organizations, facilities, teams, sporting events, all need to take in consideration. You demand everything of your fans, but you don't give back. And this is one of those scenarios that's great that you're offering them football, but their safety was more important. Take the hit, take the flack, take the angry text messages and phone calls, take the emails, but save their lives. Seriously, this is lucky that potentially nobody has been hurt out of this. Nothing being reported. That's damn near luck. That's really lucky. But I'll tell you right now, how would this news station feel if they delayed this and that tornado touched down within 3 seconds afterwards, how would they feel? They'd feel like shit. They would. And I'm not speaking that as a hypothetical. I'm speaking as somebody who works in the damn news industry. Who you know, I say I'm a media professional. I'm not kidding. I have worked in the media field for some time, but I still work in the media field. Work in the news. And I'll tell you right now, there's a lot of stuff. You don't realize how tough it is to have to deal with those kind of things. And extreme weather events, you bet your ass it's all hands on deck. And public safety is the prime concern. In most cases, obviously. So, moving from there, it'll be interesting with future weather events, not only how this station reacts, but also how other stations react. We still got the infamous snow games coming up. We've still got potentially, other weather problems coming up. We could have inclement weather in locations we're not expecting. It's only a matter of time before Seattle has another one of those city closing ice storms, and that could affect the Seahawks. But you got to take into account, how do the fans get to the SoDo area so that they can get into that stadium? It's kind of hard when the buses are down, and most of that city's on a damn hill. Think about San Francisco. Think about all these other places. Inclement weather plays a role, and I wish people would realize, not just fans, but other industries that try to use this, that try to work with this, with football. There is more to football than that. And I don't know. I kind of feel like it's the same way with some of the stories about the kids that are, hazing and beating somebody with a broom as a hazing incident. And, they get charged, and everybody, oh, how could this happen? It's a toxic culture. Why? Because we're allowing it to happen. Not saying it doesn't happen on the women's side. It can in some areas, but it seems like there's a common denominator here. We have the story from St. Louis that says that a player who was supposed to be suspended suddenly showed up wearing another number and had another player's name on the roster. Team had to forfeit the entire season because of coach's stupidity. Again, not saying that I wouldn't potentially see some women's tackle football team try to pull that shit, but there's a common denominator here. Why is it always men and boys football doing this? Right, because logic is not something a lot of people take into account. I'm starting to see the lack of logic flowing into women's tackle football, which is depressing. Because it doesn't help that a good majority of these coaches that are from the men's side and boys' side are starting to flow into the women's side. Where, especially when they are organizations that are totally devoid of any woman who knows what the hell's going on. Doesn't matter if that's a mom or a girlfriend or, just a woman who knows what the hell is going on in this sport. But anyway, going forward, we'll see what the hell this really turns out to be. I'll tell you right now, I'm exhausted already on a number of levels because college is still a dumpster fire. The NFL will forever be a dumpster fire that they've created. Women's tackle football just depends on where you want to put down your little magnifying glass, because to be honest, every league has its dumpster fire. And I mean, every league I follow has a dumpster fire somewhere. Some are a little more obvious. Others are more of the concept of, I think I smell smoke. You never know. And it really makes somebody kind of question, why do we let this keep going? Why? So, moving on from there, probably in the next few weeks I'm going to start unveiling some new stuff. Not sure yet what I'm going to do, but I got some stuff in the waiting. It'll be fun to release between now and the start of the season. I've got a couple things that I know people will probably be excited to see. But, so there's definitely some stuff to look forward to moving forward. I may do kind of a celebration. We're about... let's see, this roughly is about episode 185 in the long run. Thinking for the 200th episode, which actually coincidentally roughly kind of falls around the anniversary of the show, which will be on its 4th year. Jeez, who knows? I've been doing that this long for this show, but we might have something pretty fun around that time too. So definitely got some stuff coming down. I know a lot of you are like, "Oh, you're back to being vague again." Well, you know why. Trust me, you know why. And, it'll be interesting going forward. I do anticipate that within the next, probably, week or so, things are going to ramp up. I know we got more teams that are doing tryouts, some teams that are doing fuller, beyond that. Classroom should be starting for a good number of teams. And off-season workouts for a lot of them, even though some teams should have been doing them long ago. But, it's going to be interesting going forward. So, that all being said, you have listened to 4 Point Stance Women's Tackle Football Talk on, God, I swear, at least half of the internet and then some. Twitter, iHeartRadio, Yelp-Fi, Facebook, TuneIn, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, Overcast, Mixcloud, Radio Public, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Breaker, Apple Podcasts, Anchor.fm, and on YouTube. I swear, I've pretty much got to start recording everyone on that one and be like, hey, give me this, and, or just find a way to be like, just look, gotta find a way to cut down that little piece, but, I'm damn near everywhere, I swear. If you want direct links, especially if I mention some of your favorite locations, contact me on Twitter, which is probably the easiest because I'm always on there. The number 4_PT_stance, or my show, or me directly, W34VI1. As I said, I always am usually commenting. If I don't, then odds are I'm either asleep or I'm at work, so you never know. But that'd be the best way to get to the full links to everything. And as a reminder, National Suicide Prevention Lifeline available 24/7, no matter what. 1-800-273-8255. And the Trans Lifeline, also available any time of the year, any time of the day. They are there to help you. The U.S. number is 877-565-8860, and the Canadian number is 877-330-6366.